Hey guys, in this video I am going to quickly walk you through how to put your deluxe garland together. This is what would be considered our organic pro assembly, and it's really nice because it's super easy, it's very fast, and it's going to come together with a little bit tighter build, and it's going to be a lot more sturdy. You can definitely use the decorator strips, and we have a whole video dedicated to that. I just find these to be a little bit more fussy and time consuming. So I do like to do my garlands using either ribbon, if you've bought from us before or checked out our other videos, or using these stretchy balloons. It's the same exact process, just a different tool. With the ribbon and the 260 twister, the garland might shorten up just a little bit, but that's because it comes together tighter and it looks better overall because you're not going to have as many gaps. So just kind of keep that in mind. The decorator strip is a little bit looser of a build, and so it ends up being longer, but you have a little bit more gapping. So overall, twister ribbon assembly is just going to have a more polished and professional look. You're going to want to make sure that you have watched the video on how to inflate your balloons properly before you get into this part of your build. Your deluxe is going to have a ribbon keg. It's going to have these long, skinny balloons. These are called 260 twisters. And then you're going to have rubber bands. These are going to be saved until the end to put on your 5-inch minis. For this garland, you're going to want to take all of your 17-inch balloons and pair them off with an 11, and then you're going to take the remaining 11-inch balloons and tie them off into pairs. Now that I have all of my balloons inflated, I'm going to take every 17-inch pair. I'm going to take a set of 11s, and I want to twist them around each other. So just crisscross the necks, like that. So again, just slide those together, and then twist that around. One time. So now I've just made a quad like so. I'm going to do that with all of my 17s before we start stringing them together. Sometimes you are going to have oddballs depending on how many balloons you have, how they're split, how many number of colors you have. It just happens. So in my garland, I'm transitioning from green to blue, so I can take this, wrap these together, and then you're going to see that when we put the garland together, because blue is the next color that comes off here, you're not going to see this transition spot. So don't worry too much about these extra little oddballs. If you have one that does not have a transition color to tie it to, you can always just save it to the end and add it in with a 260. That works just as well. In order to do that, you would just take the 260, cut it into thirds. Anytime we're adding anything onto the garland after, we want to cut this down into thirds. It's all you need. It also is going to make sure that you have enough of these to do everything that you need to in your kit. So just take that. You can also use ribbon for this step. And you just tie it, and you want to tie it underneath the knot. That keeps it secure, like so. And then you would just take this, take it in here, tie it right around the ribbon vein or the 260 vein. Very easy. With my ribbon, I'm always going to start with about 4 arm lengths. Any more than that, and you are going to find yourself tangling up. So just pull 1, 2, 3, 4-ish arm lengths. I have really long arms, so somewhere in that vicinity, it's going to be roughly 12 feet of ribbon. The very first step, as always, is going to be to take your ribbon, tie it around the first cluster of balloons, just using a regular shoelace knot, nothing fancy. So 1, 2, and you can clip this short. This does not need to be that long at all. And then we are going to start wrapping. I'm going to take my cluster. I kind of like to wedge them in. I like to rotate the 16s around with the deluxe build because there's a lot of 16s. You don't necessarily want them all to be exactly uniform facing the same way. So just make sure you're kind of moving these around as you go. Nice thing is about this is when you're done, you can shift things, you can twist it, you can move it. So don't be too worried about that on this step. One thing I do recommend is keeping this ribbon behind you. If it's over here, you're tangling in it. If it's back here, you're not. This is again sometimes where the 260 is a little easier. So I'm going to take this, squish those in, pull that nice and tight. Ribbon can break, so don't yank so hard on it that it snaps. It also is not a big deal if it snaps. Just tie it and then tie a new piece in and move on. It's not the end of the world. So I have taken my ribbon. I want to make sure this is tight because once I wrap it, I cannot tighten it anymore. I'm going to take that and I'm just going to do a figure 8 around my 11s like so. Easy peasy. Grab my next cluster. I've got the cluster in my hand. I'm using my thumb on this hand. I'm using my thumb just to push it in, just to tighten it up. Just helps tighten it up a little bit. Tightening, like so. And again, I can take it and wrap it in figure 8. And we have to do one figure 8, just so you can see that again. It's figure 8. So now I have my oddball. I just don't want to set it like this direction. I do want to keep it on its side because I need to have a spot for it to transition. So setting it in there, figure 8ing it around. Let's grab our blue. Now our blue is going to nestle in like that, like so. I'm going to figure 8 like that. And if I want to, I can even, there. So as you can see, you're not going to see that. These are really short chunks of color. Typically you're going to have more than one 16-inch balloon per color. So just bear that in mind, just as a demo, as a prop. I am only doing one per section, but the one behind me I think has about 3 per section, so just keep that in mind. If you're doing a longer garland and you run out of ribbon, you want to make sure you tie it off, and then you're just going to take a new piece, wrap it around, tie it exactly like we did at the beginning. So just tie a box knot, tie it into the middle of the garland, and you're going to just start over. Start with a new piece, just like that. So very easy. And then again, when you get to the very end of the garland, just make sure you're tying it off. Anytime you're starting a new piece, tie that off to make sure everything stays secure. This entire step can also be done with the 260 twister balloon, and it's the same process. So I'm just going to show you what that looks like, and then you can just decide if you want to use the ribbon or you want to use the 260. You do either one, they both work great. With a 260 twister, same as if you were using a ribbon, you're just going to tie it around your first cluster, just using a basic box knot, shoelace knot, nothing fancy, once and twice, like so. Now we can start wrapping. Same pattern as before. Again, we're going to nestle our balloons together, pull this 260 through, so nestle, pull on that 260. With anything, you can pull it too hard and snap it. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen. So if it does, just tie a new one on. So again, tightening these down. I do want to make sure these are tight. If they're not, and I start wrapping it, then you have these loose gaps in between. And we don't want to have that. So I kind of just inch this up a little bit, tighten it like so. And then I'm going to take this and do a figure 8 around those, like that. So again, setting my balloons together, tightening that. Once it's in place and it's as tight as I want to have it, I'm going to do one wrap and one wrap, like so. And again, the beauty of this is I can twist things around. I can rearrange when I'm done, so if all the 16s are sort of flopping in one way and I want to move them, super easy to do. Once you get to the end, you want to make sure you tie this off, so you can take a tail, a balloon tail from in here. You can tie those together, or you can just wrap this around, tie it off in a box knot, whichever is easier. Just make sure you have knotted it down so that it doesn't unravel. Always just securing the ends. That is also something you want to do if you are making a longer garland and you've run out of 260. Tie that off, take your next 260, tie it into the garland. So right here, I would just tie that in, start my next piece, just the same way you did at the beginning.